What do you say, everybody? And welcome to the Bama Tailgate Show. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us and Roll Tide. Make sure that you remember we're brought to you by Pearl River Resort. I'm going to Pearl River later this week, and I want you to go there yourselves. It's March Madness, or at least it's here because it is March. And at the Timeout Sports Lounge at Golden Moon Casino, you got a Vegas-style sports book where you can go ahead and watch all the games on 20 big screen TVs around the country. You got the windows, whether it's a kiosk or you got somebody there to help you place your bets. Full-size bar, not that far. Hour and change from Tuscaloosa, 2 and change from Birmingham. And I am fired up about March Madness because Bama basketball, you never count them out. But Chris and I are going to talk some football. We'll talk some basketball with you guys. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Let's go. All right, there he is from On 3, best in the business, Mr. Chris Lowe. I'm Mick Gillespie. Thank you guys for being here. Chris, always great to see you. Before we say anything else, you and I both had a relationship with Wes Rucker. I want to tell you mine, and I know you have kind of the same feelings. Wes, I spend a lot of time in Knoxville. Wes was a baseball fan. He was in school with some of the guys that I helped mentor, including my good buddy Darren Hedrick, and was just an absolute loved part of the media. And he died tragically in a car accident. I haven't talked about him on here, but I wanted to wait for you just because Wes was just a really incredible person, wonderful insight, never met a stranger. Loved to talk and debate. He'd come into my broadcast booth at the Smokies and talk about the Cubs. He was a huge Cubs fan, and I know this is the Bama channel, but I thought it was awesome that Nate Oates threw him a shout-out after Bama's win on Saturday, and he deserves it, man. I'm praying for his family. He had a little boy named Hank, and he died in a car wreck, and I had a car accident, honestly, in about the same spot in, I think, September. So totally ironic, but I thought about it a lot. And his wife's pregnant, and he's got another kid on the way. That I just can't say strongly enough what a great guy he was, and how I'm just my heart and my prayers are going out and to his family, and definitely condolences.
The media business is pretty competitive, Mick, as you know, and it's changed so much over the years that sometimes I don't even recognize it. But I think the thing that I'm proudest of in our business, no matter what side of the political aisle you lean to, or what team you cover, or what part of the country you cover sports, is when things go wrong, when something horrible like this happens, it's been my experience, and I think we've seen this with Wes, that we rally around each other. And I've heard from so many people who knew Wes, people who've worked for him, people who he worked under, people who in a lot of cases competed against him, people that went to school with him at Tennessee, started in student publications with him, people that felt like he talked too much, people felt like he was too opinionated, fans who would take him to task on chat boards. But when he died in that car wreck, and to see the outpouring of support and love and generosity for his wife Lauren, his little boy Hank, and their baby on the way, was a reminder to me, and I think hopefully to all of us in every business, that when bad things happen, we're all sort of one. And I can't tell you the number of people I've talked to who've asked, hey, simply, what can I do to help his family? You mentioned Nate Oates. Stephen Pearl offered a similar eulogy to him. Sort of Rick Barnes has been incredible to that family. ADs, I've had other coaches who've texted me about it. Hey, how can we help? People at other competing news agencies. And Wes, what I remember most about Wes, and I wasn't around him, Wes, as much in the last 10 years as I was, say, back in the early 2000s when he was just getting started in the business. Because at that time I was in Nashville with the Tennessean, and I was around Tennessee athletics every day. So I saw Wes and sort of would read his stuff in the Daily Beacon and knew he had a chance to be really good in this business. And, he was always around and asking questions and involved. But early on, once I got to know him, he was just always willing to do whatever to help and ask, hey, how you doing? What's going on? It wasn't just about what's going on in the shop as far as the media world. And then, when he and Lauren got married and then they had Hank, and Hank had some health problems when he was little. He was so proud of Hank and so proud of his wife, Lauren, and just, he just beamed when he talked about him. It wasn't, some people, I get, everybody's different. Some people publicly in public forums don't like to talk about their family for whatever reason, and I get that. But Wes loved it, man, and he loved it because of just how much he loved his family and how proud he was of them. And I don't know if you had a chance. I didn't get a chance to go to service because I was in Nashville, but I did go watch it. And Lauren got up and gave the most awesome speech about him and who he was and what he meant to their family. And we're all going to miss him. And I'm like you. I ask everyone out there to please keep Lauren and Hank and the new baby in your prayers and do what you can to help. I mean, it's been unbelievable to see the money that's been raised on the GoFundMe that his sister started. And just don't forget about that family. I mean, right now they have probably been inundated with people, having lost loved ones of my own. It's 6 months later, it's a year later, when sometimes it's the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
So just let's do what we can as a, not just the media business, but all of us, to keep that family best we can in the palm of our hands.
Well said. All right, let's get into this. You talking about Knoxville. You talked to Josh Heupel, the coach at the University of Tennessee, and the headline going around right now is that Heupel was good with a 24-team playoff. I'm going to be honest with everyone on here. I'm fine with that too. I think we have to expand the playoff to save the bowls and also to save the games during the regular season of like Alabama versus Ohio State type matchups, because the way that they did it last year, teams are backing out, including Bama. And I don't blame them until they get it to where you're not going to miss the playoff if you go and play a tough schedule. The teams playing the weak schedules are being rewarded, and the teams that are playing the tough schedules aren't. So I like what Heupel said.
Yeah, sometimes when you're writing stories about coaches and teams, and Josh was gracious enough to give me about 40 minutes. You sit down, you write a 3,000-word story, and he talks about every aspect of his team and the changes he made in the offseason. And there's one graph that gets pulled out and goes viral, and that one graph happened to be, and this is where context is everything, a question I asked him that I'm going to ask every coach I visit with this spring during making my rounds, is I said, hey, what's your feel on the playoff? What's the right number? What's the best number? And he just said, I think his direct quote was, in the changing landscape of college football, probably 24 makes sense. And of course, that becomes, as we now live in the social media age, that goes viral and everyone's reacting. And here comes the coach. Yeah, he wants 24 because he had a bad year last year. Well, that's not how that went at all. He just answered a question.
Right.
When I sit down with Kalen DeBoer, I sit down with Alex Golesh and Marcus Freeman, who was left out of the playoff last year, I'm going to ask him the same question. I think people need to understand the complexities around this situation with the future of the playoff. We are where we are because the SEC and the Big Ten couldn't agree. And they have to agree before the playoff expands. It is going to expand. I feel very confident about that, Mick. I don't know what course that takes. Do we go to 16 for a couple of years? I talked to one other coach, not Josh Heupel, today in the league, who thinks it's probably going to go to 16 for a few years and then eventually get to 24. And he said, and he's right, This is more of a business decision
Right.
than it is what's necessarily good for the sport. I do think there's growing support within the SEC. The coaches met last week or last month in New Orleans with the ADs, and they all, and talking to several of them, there was a lot of hands raised that, hey, we're good with 24.
Yeah.
So I think it's changed a little bit. And why has it changed? Well, the SEC for the first time, and I think we're past doing the SEC for doing this, are going to 9 league games. I want to see more good games in the league. I want to see more teams playing each other. I want to see Texas A&M play at Kyle Field. I want to see Florida and Auburn play more. They used to play all the time. I want to see Auburn and Tennessee play more. I want to see Alabama and Georgia play more in the regular season.
Right.
So I think it's high time we do that. But
we also want, but sorry, Chris, we also want like Notre Dame and Alabama, and we also want like Texas playing that Ohio State game last year. Like we want to see all the conferences put their best against the best, because that's what college football was built on. And now it doesn't make any sense at all to play those games when you're in the SEC and you got to play 9 really tough non-conference games where you can lose each week.
And I think that was the thinking. And listen, there's always you're going to get the more conference games you play, the more you're going to be able to bargain with the TV networks, the more money you're going to make. And every AD out there, every single AD out there writes at the top of their list, Mick, right now, how can we generate more revenue? How can we, if we're going to pay this quarterback $4 or $5 million, we got to find a way to generate revenue. Well, what's the quickest way or the easiest way to generate revenue? With more TV money.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this gets down to that. But no, you're right, man. I want to see those intersectional rivalries. But when it's 12 teams, the way it's going to be again this year, and you're the SEC and you're going to 9 games, and oh, by the way, you also have to play a Power 4 non-conference game. That's 10 legitimate games.
Right.
And so I get why coaches around the league said, you know what? Maybe 24 does make sense.
Yeah.
I think 16 is, if you ask me, my preference, and anybody really cares, I think 16 right now probably to me would be best. But let's take 2, maybe 3 years to assess what 16 is like.
Right.
And then do we go to 24? I tell you the one part, I won't say it's the only part in reading through the proposal from the Big Ten to go to 24. I do like the fact you're going to get 2 rounds of games on campus. That to me is as appealing as anything. That we're going to see games that are one and done type of games, much like the NCAA tournament in basketball, that are on a campus. They're not at Mercedes-Benz. They're not at the Rose Bowl. They're not in Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. They're on a campus. I love that part of it. And in that proposal that was being passed around in the Big Ten, that was part of it, Mick, that they were going to play the first 2 rounds, were going to be at campus sites. I mean, I don't know where we're going to get to. I am pretty confident there will be expansion. But the reason we're at 12 again this year, very simply, is the SEC wanted to go to 16. The Big Ten wanted to go to 24. The Big Ten wasn't interested in saying, okay, we'll do 16 for a couple of years with the agreement that we'll go to 24, say in 29 or 30. Right. So therefore, those 2 leagues have the power. We're at 12. They stayed at 12.
The bad idea. Look, I love the SEC, Chris. You love the SEC. SEC's wrong on this. I would rather have too many teams make it than not enough teams make it. My point is, Miami almost didn't make it last year, and they ended up being the second best team in the country when you played it out. They beat Ohio State. They beat Ole Miss. They got to the national championship, put up a great fight, right? Notre Dame should have been in that tournament last year. Vanderbilt should have been in that tournament. Texas should have been in the tournament last year. If that means you got to take a couple other teams and put them in these smaller bowl games that nobody cares about and make them playoff games, it's only going to make the sport better, right? Like, I can't stand it when you see these. We had Tulane and James Madison in, and Notre Dame and Texas out. They just make no sense to me.
Yeah, it gets back to what I call the inclusivity factor, that they want to be sure they're including all the different conferences. And, I go back to the year that Cincinnati went unbeaten. In fact, they played Bama in the playoff I think was that the COVID year? I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
We
Bama won it
wore 'em
all.
out.
And I had gone to Cincinnati that year to do something with Fickle and watch them play. They were a really good football team. They would have beaten. Now, I don't know what their record would have been if they'd have gone the whole season to the Big Ten or the SEC. So listen, and I'm not one of these saying, well, if you're a group of 6 team, you have no business being there. Play your way in. Boise State 2 years ago was really good, but I still want to see the best teams. And the other part, other than the campus sites that I like about the Big Ten proposal, is it would be 23 plus 1. And it would be without any automatic qualifiers. It'd be the first 23 best teams as ranked by the committee, and then one group of 5, 6. Now, that doesn't mean a group of 6 team, other one wouldn't be in that top 23, but it'd have to be at least one in addition to the 23. So, hey, if it helps a team feel secure enough that they're going to schedule, if it's Bama, hey, we know it's 23 or 16, so yeah, we're going to schedule Texas. Or
Right.
if it's Oklahoma, we're going to still schedule Michigan because we know we can lose that game.
Yeah.
And still get in. I go back to last year, 2 years ago, I remember being at that Clemson, South Carolina game. South Carolina was playing as well as anybody. They'd had some close losses in that season where they barely lost on the road to Alabama. They were playing lights out when North Sellers was playing his best football. There are a lot of teams in college football at that point, to your point, that would not have wanted any part of the Gamecocks. And I think there's whatever it is, whatever the system looks like, however many teams, let's at least give teams like that are playing. Notre Dame's another one. I understand Notre Dame lost early. Their schedule wasn't as tough. That team at the end of the season would have beaten a lot of teams in the playoff. Let's have some type of pathway. And I don't want it to quote unquote de-emphasize the regular season.
Right.
But let's have some kind of pathway that if a team is really playing good football and they have a chance there at the end of the season. Now, I'm not talking about a 4 or 5 loss team. Okay.
Right.
But let's have some type of system in place where we get to see those teams compete for a national championship. You know what, man? I still think the usual suspects are going to win. Now, I know you're going to say, wait a minute, Indiana won last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. And Ole Miss was in the semifinals. It's a different.
And Miami was there. Man, Miami
Right.
hadn't been good and like a dog's age.
They hadn't scratched in a while. You're exactly right. And so there's a different landscape. I think there are more teams capable because of the portal, because of NIL, of being a team that could make a deep run in the playoff than that was, say, in the mid, 2015, 16, 17, because of the way the sport has changed. But I still think you're going to, if you're a team that's the 5th or 6th team in your league, and let's say we go to 24, I still think rarely, if ever, are one of those teams going to make it through all the way and win a national championship. Much like in college basketball, sometimes you'll see a team get to the Final Four, a mid-major, but usually those last 2 games are when the cream sort of rises to the top.
Guys, don't forget about AveD, Mick Nation. That is our QR code right there. And we are doing March Madness. We're doing it with you. And so we all plan on doing our cash prizes. As always, we give away swag. We do it all at AveD, Mick Nation. So appreciate those guys. And, sometimes you see Coker. He's looking great. That's because B. Dratty and that very cool golf gear came from those guys through AveD. So we appreciate that.
Why can't we all have hair like Coker? Why can we not have hair? Does his hair ever move?
No, he looks like a police officer. All right. And
there's never one strand out of place. Never one strand is out of place.
No, he or a politician, this very upstanding citizen. Bama Tailgate 30 if you guys want 30% off B Dratty. So take advantage of that. Chris, I'm all for 24 teams. Hope it happens. Let me switch gears here and ask you about this. a lot of us are concerned about the future of spring games. Last year, we didn't even have a spring game. We had this really terrible practice thing. I don't know that Bama's going back to that or not. Some teams are saying, hey, we're doing our spring game again. I miss the old spring game. Pork and beans at Alabama. You win, you get a steak. You lose, you get pork and beans. Now, I mean, it's like, it just looks like some kind of weird practice.
Yeah. I hate what I call them football Olympics for spring games where, you're doing a defense versus an offense. They have some point system or, some of them, some schools don't do anything. They just have one final practice because that spring game counts as one of your, what do you get, 15 practices in the spring? And they don't do anything. I like the old school spring games too. And when they were games and you had especially when you mixed it up, you mixed up the offense and you had two teams playing a legitimate scrimmage, or even best on offense versus best on defense. But I liked when they mixed it up. And I can't remember who was it. Some of those schools would have their captains. They'd pick maybe a captain, two senior leaders, and they'd have a draft. That was so cool, and you're going to go, all right, here's my first pick. I'm taking our best corner. Next, so the guy that's got the next first round pick. Well, I'm taking, our wide receiver. I'm taking Ryan Williams or whatever. And I loved it when they did stuff like that. I get coaches are scared to death somebody's going to get hurt, and we've seen that happen in spring games. And it's you're sick to your stomach when you see that happen. And honestly, if you're running a lot of stuff, with every game's on TV now, you never want to show a whole lot in a spring game. You know what my alternative is, and Dion has talked about this. Play somebody else. Have instead of playing, a smaller school from your state to open, and this goes back to getting more good games. So Alabama plays Alabama A&M. Tennessee plays Tennessee Tech, and you could play younger guys in those games. You get a chance to see maybe if you've got all your freshmen on campus, which everybody, when you sign a class now, they're all on campus in January. Mm-hmm. You've got your transfers. You don't know a lot about those guys, and even if it's not a smaller school from your state, maybe you can scrimmage against maybe Virginia Tech and Tennessee scrimmages, Alabama and Memphis or whatever. I mean, you get something that changes it up a little bit, where as a coach, and I understand the injury factor, that's still going to be there. But boy, you got a chance to see some of your young guys, some of the guys that are new, and you put them out there in a game situation because, a place like Bama, if you played whoever, UAB, Alabama A&M, so Jacksonville State, and maybe it's a way to help out some of those schools in your own state, and they get a big percentage of the gate. But man, you're going to get a big crowd. You're going to have a lot of people there coming to Bryant-Denny Stadium to see that game, with a chance to see some of the newcomers. And the coach can choose, hey, I'm not going to play my starter. I'm going to play my starter for the first series, and he's done. Then I want to see how the new guys look. Now, the NCAA has not allowed that. They're saying no. Dion's pushed it now for a couple of years. But I would love to see, if you're just going to have football Olympics for that spring date, I'd much rather see something like that.
Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, I feel like college football sometimes is stuck in neutral, right? Like it's like it can't get out of its own way. And the NIL and the transfer portal thing is just so bad because there's no rules to it. And I get why the coaches would worry about people watching film and being like, hey, I'm going to take this guy off your roster because I saw him play and all that. But man, when you forget that all of this is for the fans, right? It's for the fans. And you're missing out on something. I remember when Nick Saban took the Alabama job, 92,000. I was there, came to the spring game. And he said that was recruiting wise, I mean, it told everybody that Bama was ready to be back. These spring games are important practice time for these guys. It gives us something to talk about when we're opposite of the playing season. And I agree with you. I would love to see Alabama play Oklahoma State or something. It'd be fun.
Anybody. Yeah, anybody. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point. I don't know how realistic that is, but it's something new. It'd be something unique. I think something that would generate tons of interest. Because the other thing about a spring game is you get a lot of people who get to come to those games, Mick, that don't normally get to come to games in a season, and because usually the tickets aren't that expensive. You got a chance to, if you're a family, you're a guy that's making, not a whole lot of money. You got 3 or 4 kids and you live down in Mobile or wherever, you want to drive up to Tuscaloosa for the game, you can do that. Whereas you maybe just can't afford or justify paying the kind of money that it costs to go to a game in the SEC, not just Bama. And I think that's the other thing I will always notice going to spring games over the years is you see families and it's a chance for them to come and they otherwise, wouldn't be able to come. I always remind my dad and I have some of these conversations. He's a sort of when it comes to college football now, college sports, sort of a get off my lawn type of personality. I'm not going to watch them anymore. These players make too much money. The coaches, and I'm like, Saturday, I call him after, hey, and he's like, did you see the Alabama Georgia game? Did you see that Michigan? And he's watching all of them. And I think a lot of fans are still like that. They watch on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. They may not like it. They might agree with the things that are going on. And I'm always hesitant to beat up too much on the players. I hate the fact that teams don't stay together anymore. You can't see a team grow together over 3 years. That, to me, is the worst part of the portal and NIL, because you just being a team guy and watching the developmental part of football, because it's to me, football is the most developmental game there is in all of sports.
Right.
And because nobody shows up. Basketball is a different story. Mm-hmm. Nobody shows up on campus as a freshman ready-made to play in the Big Ten or the SEC. It just hardly ever happens.
No.
Maybe Jeremiah Smith, he's sort of the unicorn. I miss
guys like him, but
there's
very
not a lot
rare,
of those
man. Very rare.
There just aren't many of those guys. But I'm also hesitant to beat too much up on the players. Hey, when coaches are leaving during the playoff, after the season, to make more money, last year was crazy. And the flip side of that is when schools are paying $50 and $60 and $70 million to fire a coach to be able to hire another coach. So I just think all of it is not great. When I talk about off the field, you see that, and it's easy, if a kid's got a chance to make, Bediako in basketball. I think sometimes we're all hypocritical. Everybody's wagging their finger at him. Now, did I think he should be able, or any player should be able to come back and play college sports after they left voluntarily and signed a pro contract? No. But you know what? Much like Joey Aguilar at Tennessee, his was denied. If I've got a chance in this day and age, and it's my son, and hey, you can go back and make $1 million, $1.5 million. I think Aguilar could have made $2 million.
Right.
At Tennessee. Who would not be in favor of their?
Oh, everybody would, man.
Of course they would.
Come on, man. That's
the system. Don't blame the kids. It's the system is the way, and we've weaponized the courts. But all these kids, whether it was Bediako, Shambliss, Joey Aguilar, and it's time to move on. You need to move on and move on with your life. Well, you know what? If you were your kid and he had a chance at 23 or 24 to make a couple million, and you're probably not going to be, I don't know if Joey Aguilar is going to get drafted or where he's going to get drafted, but you had a chance to make that kind of cash. If you're Bediako, absolutely, you would be in favor of them doing that. So different sport. I've tried to adapt best I can, Mick, and tried to sort of not be Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino, which was a great movie.
No, me too, man. Me too.
And I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that guy. Well, it wasn't like this in my day, or when we played, or back when I started. I don't want to be that guy. There are things I miss about the way the sport was, but I still, man, as you know, we talk about it all the time. I wake up on Saturday mornings if I'm in Tuscaloosa or Eugene, Oregon, or wherever my travels take me to cover college football, I can't wait to get to the stadium and watch the game.
Me too, man. Hey, guys, don't forget that we are proudly partnered with New Life Art. Daniel Moore does a great job on those amazing Alabama memories, those prints, right? You can see it right here. I'm going to pan up to it. There it is. You can see it on the wall. I'm going to move it down here and get my other stuff here. But my apartment isn't totally put together. I just threw it up there. That's Buzzer Beater. You see it on the bottom of your screen as well. That is in honor of Mark Sears beating Auburn last year when they had Bruce Pearl. Love Nate Oates in the background. We got Crispy Screen down at the bottom. We got that amazing catch that Ryan Williams made to beat Georgia a couple years ago in Tuscaloosa. All those, newlifeart.com. Promo code Bama Tailgate, 20% off at checkout. Please use our promo code. Pimp out your man cave. I look at that up there. I'm like, man, I'm excited for basketball. I needed that up here. I'll put a football one up eventually. Right now, it's basketball season. And that leads me to my final topic with you, Chris. You live in Knoxville. We're talking about that. Nate Oates, great coach, brings Alabama in. They've struggled against Tennessee, a really good basketball team, losing the entire game. And then LeBaron Philon, but it wasn't the buzzer beater, but it was a come from behind win. Bama got the lead late and ended up winning the basketball game. I love both of those programs. I love the respect that they had afterwards. The coaches know they're both good. Bama never gave up. They were down double digits. 8-game winning streak for this Bama basketball team.
You know, Florida would be, if you said, who do you least want to play right now as we go into the most important month of the season? In the SEC, Florida would be number one. Right behind them, though, is Bama. And here's why. The sport, tournament basketball, is almost always about what, Nick? Guards. Having really good guard play across the board. Guys who can get to the basket, guys who can score, make tough twos, guys who can make threes, and more than just one or two. And Bama's got an assortment of those guys. Now, without Bediako, are they good enough, deep enough inside that they got, clutch play inside the other night against Tennessee? But man, when you've got guys who can create and up and down the floor, I don't know about you, and I'm showing my age here. I'm watching Philon he took over, the last 10, 12 minutes of that game. Who were you thinking about? I'm going to tell you who I was thinking about. I'm thinking Allen Iverson. I haven't seen that type of swag, and just, I don't care who he got matched up against. Tennessee didn't play some of those high ball screens the way they needed to, but there were different matchups, big guy, smaller guy. You could just see it in his eyes, man. You are toast. I'm going to get the rim. None of them are going to get the rim. I'm going to finish. And there were at least twice where he finished and scored, and I thought he got fouled. They didn't call it. But in the tournament, the whistle seems to be a little bit different. Sometimes they let you play, especially if teams are really good. And I think being able to make tough twos and get into the lane the way he is, and he's not the only one. They got several guys on the perimeter who can shoot it. That's the thing that jumped out to me about Bama the other night is they're playing well, they've got momentum, and they've got guards who can score. You can take one of them out. I mean, listen, Philon was not a factor really in the first half at all. And I remember Jimmy Dykes on the broadcast kept saying, if Bama's going to win this game, they got to get him engaged. And boy, they did. But while he wasn't engaged, they had other guys, even though they got down 13 points, they played well enough to at least keep him within striking distance. And then when it came winning time, he's a fun. A-Cup's a great player. I love to watch him play at Arkansas. Philon's a great player. Houck at Florida. But boy, he is. When he got the ball there and they switched the big kid Estrella out on him, it was just, you almost felt sorry for Estrella because you knew what was getting ready to happen. Yeah, and you could see it. You could see it in Philon's face. He just sort of shaking his head, saying, "Brother, you got no chance." Yeah, and that's what happened. So yeah, Bama's a team would not want to see as a. So right now, what are they, about 4 seed projected?
Yeah, somewhere in there. I mean,
and might move up to a 3. But so that means if chalk were to hold, they would be playing a 5 seed in the second round. And then if they win that one, you're looking at a 1 seed. There's no way if I'm a 1 seed, I want to see Bama in the Sweet 16.
No, I want to remind Alabama fans, I think we all, not all of us, but most of us know it. What Nate Oates is doing right now, unprecedented in Alabama. I mean, to think that consistently every year we're good. I mean, really good. Like, are we going to win the national championship? No, probably not. But I'll tell you what, we're going to be a tough out, and the way that this team performs in the regular season, the fact that he isn't afraid to go out and play anybody, anywhere, which is crazy. You get to the last few years, we got into the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, and we had played the majority of the teams remaining already within the last 2 years, most of them, because he wants to play Arizona. He wants to play Connecticut. He wants to play Gonzaga, outside of the conference. I just love the guy. I think he's a cool dude. I want to enjoy it while it's going on, because I think eventually he's going to end up going somewhere to like a big basketball school. But it's been fun. I mean, just not just the fact that he beat Tennessee like that, but just everything about the program right now is just fun. It's exciting.
Oh, they're playing their best ball when it matters. As you said, they won 8 in a row, and you want to be going into March. Number one, you want to be healthy. Okay. Number two, you want to be playing really good, confident basketball. And that's sort of what I see in Bama. Even when they get down, you said it, man, they just never seem to be out of a basketball game. And that's because they can score points in bunches and go on, 8-0 runs, 10-2 runs, in a 3-minute span. They're as good at that as anybody in the league. But, you said something that I always had this conversation with fan bases. And I'm not talking about Duke in Kansas or even Kentucky, even though, until Kentucky got to the Sweet 16 last year, it wasn't like they were tearing it up in the postseason. But what's important in basketball to you? To me, it's a program consistently every year. They've got a chance to make a run in March. Now, they might not get to the Final Four. They might not win it all. But there's not going to be up and down years. It's you win 24 one year, and then you win 16 or 17 the next. I mean, you look at the way Auburn struggled. I mean, Bruce Pearl, what he did at Auburn was incredible. To get them to the final game, the Final Four. Now, this is Stevens' first year. I never thought, maybe I didn't think they would dip this much, but I never thought they were going to just be roll on without any blips. It's always tough, a transition. But even a program that had a rolling like that, and granted Bruce is not there, you have that dip. In a place like Bama, they just haven't had it under Oach. Barnes has been the same way at Tennessee. And then there's a lot of frustration among Tennessee fans that they haven't been able to get to the Final Four. They never have in the program's history. But, man, you consistently get to Sweet 16s. They've been in the Elite Eight each of the last 2 years. As a fan, I don't care if you're Bama, if you're Tennessee, you look at what Florida's done. And even Golden's first year or so, they weren't very good. Now they got it rolling now. But I want a team, when I go to the arena, when I turn on the television at night, that I know they're going to show up and play. And when we get to March this time of year, that if all things go well and they get the right draw and guys are playing well and guys are healthy, that they got a chance to beat anybody and make a run. And I think that's what Oates has built at Alabama. To me, that's the epitome of what they are. As you know, any game they play, they got a chance to win.
Yep, no doubt. Guys, I want to thank you all for hanging out with us, presented in part by the Rat Pack. I don't know why I said the Rat Pack, which is, if you go to Whatnot and you are a collector of football, basketball, or baseball cards, they have daily auctions that are so much fun and amazing. Did you collect cards, Chris?
Yeah. Still got a lot of mine.
Do you? What's your top
74,
cards?
I have a 70. See, Aaron hit his 715th in 75? What year did he hit 715? 74, 7. Anyway, I've got a card. I got a baseball card, an Aaron baseball card from 74 or 75. I think it's the year he hit 715. And I've stored that. I don't know what it's worth. I have no idea, but I've stored it and a few others.
74, April 8th, 74.
Okay. So I have a Hank Aaron card from 74, a Topps card. I think it's a picture of him catching a ball and a fly ball in the outfield, which is weird. One of the best hitters to ever play, and the card is him catching a ball in the outfield. But, I was a huge man. And back then, you get them for 25 cents. We had a little store that we ride our bikes to, 73, 74, 75. And you always had the stick of, the little flat stick of gum in there. And if I got some money for a birthday, or I had an aunt in Cincinnati who would send me every year with her card, she sent us $3. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal. And my mom would say, all right, you got to save $2, but you can use one of it to go buy 4 packs of baseball cards. That was the best day of my life when I knew, hey, it's not just one, I get to buy 4 packs. And of course you're grimacing when you open it and it's a double. Nobody wanted a double. I already got that card. But yeah, man, it's hard to explain to people now just how big a deal collecting baseball cards were in the 70s and 80s.
It's look, Chris, it's gotten hot again, man. And then what they do is that the cards are so much more valuable. They have like pieces of jersey in these cards. They have autographs in these cards. They do like a short run. Like I picked up a Cal Ripken and Eddie Murray double autograph card, and they, it was like 1 of 10, and these were teammates in Baltimore, won the World Series in '83, and both Hall of Famers, right? And it's just such a different animal now. But you go to Whatnot, you go to the Rat Pack, and they basically have these auctions every night where you get to bid on cards, and they open up those packs, and there's different stuff in there. It's worth checking out. We appreciate that. I love watching it, by the way. It's great to have them on board. All right, Chris, always great to see you. I'm going to be at Golden Moon and Pearl River Resort starting on Thursday. I'll be there Thursday and Friday. We're going to start previewing the basketball tournament, the SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament. We're going to do it from down at Pearl River Resort, Philadelphia, Mississippi, hour and a half from Tuscaloosa, 2 and change from Birmingham, the Azaleas, the Oaks, 2 amazing golf courses. Yesterday would have been one heck of a day to get out and golf. You guys can go do that. It's it's the Augusta that you can play. That's what they call it. Philip M. Steakhouse over there, table games and slots. They got it all at Pearl River, and they bring you our shows on a daily basis. So thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, guys. Check out Chris's work at On3. What do you got cooking over there?
Well, today we sort of the first of my stops around spring practice. Had a big piece on Heupel, and it's a big sixth season for him in Tennessee. You're coming off the way they sort of unraveled down the stretch. But getting ready to hit it, man. I'll be through Tuscaloosa. I'll be through Auburn, Georgia, going to the Midwest. Going to see Kurt Signetti, Marcus Freeman. Hope to get over to Blacksburg, Virginia, and see James Franklin. A lot of new coaches out there, a lot of first-year coaches. And I look forward. Spring ball is always a good time to get these guys when they're not planning for a game, and really sort of get a chance to tell some stories as a journalist that you're not really able to tell once the season starts.
Awesome. All right, guys. We'll talk to you again later this week. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Thank you for being a part of this. Roll Tide.
So, Jake, let's break down some game tape. Hold on, fellas. Steve.
Hey, Jake. You ready to rock?
Let's roll, brother.
Guess we're calling plays at Pearl River Resort. Wow, Jake's first throw scores.
And Steve's got the crowd pumped. Man, they're absolutely rolling.
'Cause I don't have to be me till Monday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I ain't gonna face reality.
I tell you, Jake's still got game.
While Steve keeps rocking aces.
Boom, Jake seals it with a pick.
Come call your own plays
At Pearl River Resort. Let's roll.
I don't have to be me till Monday,